Hello, hello. Just wanted to give my thoughts on the Druid and go really in deep on, what I really think about the skills and everything. Is the class strong? Is the class weak? Etc. What are some interesting legendaries? I'm gonna have some examples to kind of show you some of the things I'm talking about. So, first off, I think before we really get into whether or not the Druid is weak, I don't think that's a good statement to, or a good viewpoint to have of a class. I think you should really just dissect the abilities and think about how the abilities interact with the rest of the build, and if you have things that are just blatantly outperforming, then you need to adjust them, right? Stuff like that. Because I think Druid is going to be strong with some builds and it's weak with other ones, right? So the question is how do you make Druid better with other builds, and how do you make it, and then how do those builds compare to other classes, right? But is Druid good or bad? It's all relative. I don't really like looking at things in that kind of binary way. So let's just go ahead and I'll try to expand upon this and show you what I mean. So first off, you have basic skills. So there's a big issue with the basic skills. Okay, so let's just go ahead and go over them. I'll go over the best one last. So Maul, shapeshift into a werebear. Maul leaps in front of you. Okay, cool, does damage. Fortifies you. This is actually, it can be useful, but it's not that useful. Has a 10% chance to knock down, so I mean that could be useful to proc effects. Increases the range and radius of Maul by 30%, make it bigger. Okay, that's cool. Kind of lackluster, but it's, it could potentially be okay in some situations. Claw, shapeshift into a werewolf. Claw at an enemy. Does damage, okay? Increased attack speed, it can put a poison on them, or it has a 10% chance to attack twice. That's okay. You have Wind Shear, it just shoots, so just to kind of show you guys, that's it. That's all the ability. Kind of boring. Then you have the werewolf one. Werewolf one looks cooler, actually, I think. Then we have this. Right? Boom. So the issue with this is that one, it pierces, so it only goes in a straight line, and it's also really small, so it's really going to be not kind of hard to hit things. So even though it makes things vulnerable, there's way better ways to make things vulnerable than what this ability can even offer. Okay, just way, this ability is borderline useless unless there's a legendary that I just don't have that augments it. But I think that from a base level, without legendaries, this is just not good. Anyway, so Wind Shear has a 20% makes me vulnerable, and whatever. Grants 3 additional spirit for each enemy hit. But the thing is when you have to look at how small that is, right? You're not going to be generating that much spirit compared to other things. Fierce Wind Shear, enemy hit by Wind Shear increases your movement speed. That could be kind of good if you're trying to do some type of speed build or something, but that would be a level 100 tech or something like that. Then you have Earth Spike. This ability also is,
I'm not ready yet.
Oops, I had this legendary on, so it's really, it's okay. It's ranged. It hits, however many people, so that means it makes it a little difficult to hit multiple targets. Earth Spike has a 10% chance to stun for 2.5 seconds. That's actually pretty good because it can proc. It can help proc status effects. Fortify, that's alright, but there's better ways to get Fortify down the line. So overall, not that great. So if we're thinking about at level 100, which one of these abilities would I want to actually include in my build? I don't. This is only going to be good if there's something way on down the line that changes it to make it way better, but it's really not that great. Summon a second Earth Spike when hitting an immobilized or stunned enemy. Well, I mean, that's not even going to really do that much damage or be that useful, so it doesn't really matter. And then Fortify, like I said, there's going to be better ways to get Fortify. But now we get to the best one, and this is where kind of the issue lies. It's Storm Strike. It seems, pretty basic. It just does a Storm Strike, but it's an AoE ability that chains, so you don't have to aim it. Also, just baseline, you gain 25% damage reduction for using it, right? So if you're in a range build, you can make an argument that you have to use one of these. If you're doing range build, you want to keep your distance because you have legendaries, right? But when it comes to these other two abilities, there is never a reason to not take Storm Strike, and I'm going to show you why. There's some big issues there's some big issues here. Stormstrike outperforms these two so hard it is ridiculous. So one, since you're in melee, getting 25% damage reduction is just huge. It's really good. Okay. It chains to 3 different targets, so you don't have to aim it. So that means you're generating spirit like mad with it, right? Because like this one, gain 3 additional spirit for each enemy hit beyond the first. Well, it's like, you know, you don't even have to really aim this. It just kind of hits, right? Then you have Stormstrike has a 15% chance to immobilize all enemy hit. Immobilize is pretty much in the majority of status effects in terms of like it's going to trigger something for you, right? And you have a 50% chance to make enemies vulnerable, which actually goes down to a lower chance once you actually do the proc coefficient, but it makes things vulnerable very easily, right? Which is another huge thing for things down the line. Because when enemies are vulnerable, they just take 20% increased damage. So like it doesn't matter you have extra attack speed or poison when you're just when you can just take something that's going to easily make it to where you can proc 20% increased damage. And especially in a werewolf build, they don't have access to things typically that make things vulnerable in the werewolf skill line. Okay, so Stormstrike is just absolutely bonkers compared to these two. Like I really don't ever see a world where you take these two in like a min-max build over this. Even though we're only at level 25, I would even make this argument even at like level 100. There would have to be some serious legendaries that buff these two things to really make them better than this, right? And the other reason for that too is because there are legendaries in the game that revolve around shapeshifting. Case in point, when using a shapeshifting skill, it changes your form, gain 29 life. If you're at full life, gain the same amount as Fortify. If you use this item and you run Stormstrike and then a shapeshift core skill, you will be like perma-fortified all the time. It is absolutely insane. The moment I got that at like level 9, the moment I got that legendary, I was just unkillable, right? So, and when you get down to here and you get to, there's shape-shifting passives kind of throughout the tree. It says when shapeshifting skill transforms you into a different form, it deals 5% increased damage. Well, that's the issue with this is that one, it's supposed to be for a werewolf ability, right? But the thing is that if I go Claw into Shred into Bloodhowl, right? And this is my build. Let's just say I'm going like, you know, full werewolf, right? Okay. And then I take Rabies, and then I take Lacerate, right? I literally never change back. Ever. Like, I really don't change back unless I stand there and let myself change back. But that would just be a huge DPS loss, right? Or I could just take Stormstrike, which gives me way better things like damage reduction, like immobilization, like vulnerability, right? And then run these same builds, and I'm probably just doing more damage. I'm making things vulnerable to proc more various status effects, like, and then I'm also getting this 15% damage increase to all of the skills that I'm using whenever I transform, as long as I'm just weaving in one Stormstrike in between each of my skills, because it changes you back into a human, right? So it's like Stormstrike, Claw, Stormstrike, and I'm back human, right? So yeah, so that's kind of a big issue. So that's kind of my thoughts on the basic skills. Stormstrike is just by far the best one. These two are very mediocre. They don't feel very useful. They don't feel like they generate a whole lot of spirit. 'Cause I mean, dude, 8 spirit. This generates 15. This generates 8, and it's like, it's like not even like it's easy to hit, right? Like that's not huge, right? Like, these aren't huge abilities, right? Like if they increase the width, these could be a lot better. But you know, and if they also they might just want to make, you know, redo these passives too to make them a little bit more useful. Because all the melee ones I think are fine. Like if you take Claw, these are all useful. But if you you take Maul, these are useful. But like you take these, it's like these are just not that useful. And I know that this one, for example, I know Earth Spike. Some people might say, "Oh, it was a legendary, it changes it." Well, this is the legendary that changes it. Earth Spike launches in a line, and I'm gonna tell you what. If they removed the cooldown, or if there was a way to get a much lower cooldown, this is actually really good. It makes Earth Spike really good. So if they could adjust this legendary to where, or like just remove the cooldown and it just says Earth Spike launches spikes in a line, or instead, or give it like a 0.5 second cooldown or something. Just something not so long, because it makes it odd and clunky. Because if I can only use this once every 2 seconds, or I can use this like non-stop, this spirit generation that you're getting from Earth Spike is way hampered when you put this on, right? And I know because I'm sure you guys, I don't know if you guys saw before I reset, but I was playing like a boulder build and I was trying it out, and I just couldn't generate enough spirit to do boulder, right? And that's going to bring into another issue later on. But now let's go ahead and let's just hop into the core skills. So the core skills. So you got, let's just get rid of all these. Oh, JK, just this. Okay. So you got lightning strike. Just to kind of show you guys what's going on here. Alright. So look at how fast this generates spirit, right? Okay. So you got tornadoes. Tornadoes are pretty cool. Don't mind that. You got pulverize, sick ability, absolute sick ability, and you got shred. And then, last but not least, let's go find some more stuff to hit here. You got landslide. Right. So, all the core skills, with the exception of this one. So, alright. So, tornado's good. A lot of people are complaining that it's hard to hit things. Well, you got to keep in mind that there's a legendary that actually makes it pinpoint target things. So like it says, oh, tornado seeks out 2 or 3 additional targets after it's cast. So you got to keep that in mind. So it actually will kind of just run around and actually hit things once you have that legendary. Pulverize, just a pretty solid ability. It just does a lot of damage. There's also 2 legendaries that make it even better. So you got Pulverize is now an Earth skill, so that's huge. That's absolutely massive, because if it's an Earth skill, that means it's going to benefit from all the Earth skill passives. So that means you're going to be able to increase the damage of it like mad when you get down to skills like this. Earth skills deal 5% increased damage to slow, stunned, immobilized, right? And because it's an Earth skill now, it benefits from damage from Earth skills slow enemies hit. So it has that benefit of automatically proccing these now. So Pulverize, solid, has good legendaries. Does a lot of damage, like you saw, like one-shot that pack when I'm not even like really that far, like that deep into a build with it. Your next Pulverize, this sucks because it's capped every 10 seconds, but it isn't. But you know, Overpower is cool, you know, and you also have to be super fortified. But then again, if you're running, you know, the right build, you could be fortified to proc Overpowered quite a bit. Enemies hit with Pulverize deal 20% reduced damage. That's not really necessary because you're so tanky. So this is kind of useless in my opinion, but I don't know, it could be good later on. And then enemies are stunned for 2 seconds when they're overpowered by Pulverize. I don't personally think... I think maybe taking this one's good. I don't personally care for these, but at the same time, there could potentially be a build where these are useful. Okay, so I'm not going to knock this out and say this is totally bad. I would give Pulverize, like, the ability itself is like an A, right? And then this stuff right here is like a B, where it's like, it's okay, it's not that great, but it's not that bad. Oh, totally forgot. Tornado. Each time you cast a tornado, you have a 20% chance to spawn additional tornado. That's pretty cool, actually. I like that. Enemies damage are slowed by 8%. That could be good if you need to proc. Again, if you don't have any other way of proccing slow or like some type of status effect. But if you're running tornado, you could just run... Actually, no, yeah, that actually is pretty good, because there actually isn't a crazy amount of options, but the enemies hit by have a 10% chance to become vulnerable, so you have a way to make things vulnerable as well with Tornado, so not bad. I'd say Tornado's alright. Then you go down to Shred. Shred is actually the one that I used a ton. I think it's really good. It does a lot of damage. Everything about it I think is good. It also dashes, so whenever you run up to something, it will dash. So, it's actually even a movement ability here. Oh my gosh. Here, let me get this. Let me get some spirit and run over here. Try to find something else. What do we got going on? Okay. So, see how I'm kind of just see how it's kind of the first attack is a dash. Hold on, do it again. Back off over here. See, so it's a pretty nice dash too. It's not a bad movement ability. It really helps you stick to the targets pretty well, right? But, and then whenever you actually have the full, oh my gosh, stuff's everywhere. And then whenever you actually have the full upgrades, you know, gives 30% attack speed, so it happens faster, which is cool. And then you have Shred applies a pretty big, or sorry, you can increase its critical strike damage by 20%, which that's going to be good later on when you have access to key abilities like this. Every 6 werewolf skill critically strikes and deals 60% increased damage. So when you know you're going to have guaranteed crits, that's actually going to be a lot better. It's not very good right now, but that will be good later. Then you have this one. So if you're doing a poison build, it puts a pretty large poison on the target. So I would say, you know, overall, Shred is just really good. It does a lot of damage. It hits in an AoE. It puts a nice poison on things. It does everything you want. Then you have Landslide. Landslide's pretty cool. If you get this legendary, Landslides, yeah. So you get this one, then it makes it to where it hits twice. So it does pretty much like double damage, and it increases the damage of it by 20% each time something gets hit. So that's pretty solid. It's not bad. Once after Landslide damages enemy 4 times, the next hit will mobilize enemies, and that's okay. Because, you know, if you're doubling the hits and you have that legendary, you can proc this pretty much instantly, which is good. When you immobilize or stun an enemy, you gain a Terra Mote. Each enemy hit by Landslide consumes a Terra Mote, causing a guaranteed critical strike for 40%. So this is just really good. You know, once you get that legendary, you then can proc this instantly, which then is going to proc you into Primal Landslide real easily. And then when you strike an immobilize or stun enemy with Landslide, an additional Pillar of Earth is formed. So then you get another hit. I think this one's better, personally. But yeah, Landslide's pretty good. But then we get to this one, right? And Lightning Storm kind of blows. And it's not because it doesn't do damage. It's because it's a weird channeled ability. So if they made it to where this costs, like, I don't know, like 30, 45 spirit when you cast it, and then it just did like a set effect in a set area, Lightning Storm would probably be a lot better. Or if they made it to where, like, you know, it's just a mini version of Cataclysm or something that follows you around you or something like that. Or if it just puts like a passive effect and it kind of plays into some of the passives that I'm going to show you guys later that just kind of randomly strike enemies, that'd be cool. But like, it just, like, it doesn't last very long, right? Like, I got 3 ticks and I was out of spirit. Like, every time I tried to use this ability, I was just always out of spirit. And then when you think about, like, you know, what can you use with this? It's like, well, if you're doing a range build, right, which is what this is, yeah, it's like, you know, and you try to use Wind Shear, this does not generate anywhere near enough spirit to keep this up. Now, if I was able to kind of make it work if I did a Storm Strike Lightning Storm build, and I just kind of use this in melee range instead of trying to focus on using it at range, right? But at the same time, still, it just ran out of spirit super fast. Whereas if I took like Shred and other things, I don't know, it just felt like it was far more useful. I don't know what they need to do to change it, but I just don't really care for the channeling aspect of this. If they could just find a way to, like, not make this a channel, that would be great. The size of your Lightning Storm is reserved for 4 seconds after channeling. Lightning Storm gains 1 additional strike. These are all cool too, and these are all perfectly fine. It's just the channeling part of it. And I know there's some legendaries, like there was one legendary I had. Where the heck is it at? Okay, well, I guess I don't have it on me at the moment, but but there's one legendary that makes it to, like, whenever you use this, like 3 little things come out, or like 3 little bolts shoot out in like a triangle kind of formation. It still didn't really do anything to make this that good. I just am not a fan. The other thing too with Lightning Storm is you have to generate the spirit. So you know, while you're, you know, generating spirit, you're obviously not using this. And with the way that the lightning builds work in general, it's a lot about procking random effects. So like, you look at like this, this. Critical strikes and storm skills charge the air around you for 1.2 seconds, causing a lightning strike to periodically hit enemies, right? So when you're not hitting things, right? It's like it when you're not hitting things, or like when you're channeling and you have this kind of really slow attack, like speed or rate of speed that it's like attacking, then you're not getting as many crits and you're not proccing your like random lucky hit stuff. So like what I did, and again there's a build video on this channel of it with the Storm Strike, is I literally just buffed Storm Strike to where I just increased its attack speed by as much as I could, and it just outperformed Lightning Strike to an immense degree. It just was, Lightning Storm could not come anywhere close to what I was doing, and it was just because since I'm attacking and I'm constantly chaining and I'm constantly getting these hits of electricity, I'm going to be proccing all of these storm passives. Like you come down here, you got up to a 10% chance when dealing damage to a vulnerable, immobilized, or stunned enemy to also strike it with lightning, right? So like in order to do that, you want to have the fastest attack speed possible so you can constantly be trying to proc these lucky hits. And with this lightning storm, it just doesn't, it's just not there, I guess. Like I don't know, like I just don't care for it that much. But yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on Storm Strike. Main issue is just please do something about this to where it's like not channeled. I just don't like the fact that it's channeled. It makes it feel slow, clunky, and awkward. Okay, you got some passives here, pretty standard. Critical strike, chance to get close to enemies, so good for melee stuff. Damage reduction in werebear form. Move speed in wearable form, pretty good. This is pretty good too. It makes it to where your core skills deal up to 15% more spirit, but 30% more damage. And then you have a compensation thing where basic skills generate 30% more spirit, so it kind of offsets all of that. Okay, so that's kind of my thoughts on the core skills. Everything's pretty good here with the exception of Lightning Storm. Once you get legendaries that imbue these, they just get even better. So you know, I really don't have any issues with this, right? It doesn't have any huge issues like the basic skills did, where Storm Strike is just so much better than everything else. Okay, so now, oh, what the heck, dude? Why you hitting me? Oh, see, like, look at that, see, okay? I don't like that channel. It's just annoying. Because, like, the ability itself isn't bad, it's just the channel part of it that's bad. But, okay, so we go down to Earthen Bulwark, defensive skills. So, I think, personally, they should change Earthen Bulwark to do Fortify, because, like, what's the point of giving you a barrier? Like, you know, like I just don't see the point. Like, I think it should just give you Fortify for this amount instead of a barrier, and make it to where it'll help you just keep up Fortify, because Fortify is just the main mechanic that a druid has time and time again, especially later on in the tree. Like, you get down to here, it's like increase Fortify, you know, you guys saw the Maul passive, you know, the Maul passive, Fortify, so this one, yeah, Fortify, like a lot of Fortify stuff, right? And I just don't understand why they give a barrier. It's odd, but I don't know, I guess maybe barrier thematically makes more sense. But this is a pretty decent ability. It's not, you know, not amazing, but yeah, it gives you some pretty decent survivability. Then you have, makes you unstoppable, and then I believe you do have a thing right here that can give you Fortify as well with it, so that's pretty cool. And then you have a thing that makes it deal damage whenever it expires. So, you know, overall not bad. This can be kind of useful. There's a legendary here too. The duration of Earthen Bulwark is increased by 6 seconds. In addition, killing an enemy with Earth skills replenishes 26 of your active Earthen Bulwark's barrier. So that's not bad. So I mean, I guess it does give you a way to use that that barrier. There's a legendary that says while you have a barrier, deal X amount more damage. So I mean, I guess it's not too bad, because if you have that, it'll bump this up to 9 seconds, so you only have 8 seconds of downtime on the barrier. So yeah, because regardless of even if they replenish, the barrier's still gonna leave after, you know, the 9 seconds or whatever. So then you have Cyclone Armor. Powerful winds surround you, granting 20% non-physical damage reduction. The winds rapidly expand, and knocking enemies back, doing a little bit of damage. Okay, cool. Cool, awesome. So, Enemies knocked back or slowed. Enemies knocked back or vulnerable. So I mean, this, and then every 10 seconds, causing incoming damage, grant you 30% damage reduction for 2 seconds. So not bad overall. Like these could be good in the right situation if you need a way to proc slow, if you need a way to proc vulnerable, and you don't have it from other things. Which I mean, I'd imagine that there's definitely better ways. Unless he's attacking me, what the heck? You know, there's definitely better ways to.
What is this?
There's definitely better ways to proc vulnerable than this, but at the same time, depending on like a niche build, that could be good. And then there's also a legendary that makes your Cyclone Armor also do physical, and also grants it to your allies. So like the base ability is going to be really good, especially in groups, because you can give your whole group damage reduction. So if there ever comes a time when there is content that is, you know, does so much damage that people need more tankiness, it's just going to be more of a reason to bring a druid, because druids can run Cyclone Armor, which could potentially create combos with other classes and stuff like that, right? So, then you have Bloodhowl, not bad. The cool thing about this is you can reduce the cooldown of it, so it helps with your potions, because I use this for quite a while. It also increases your attack speed, or it generates spirit. So because this, like, you know, you can reduce the cooldown, makes this pretty good actually, because it's just it's like you have infinite potions almost. Like this is 35% of your max life over 3 seconds. This heals you for 20% of your life, and you can do it. You know, if you ever run out of potions because you're doing hard content, this is actually pretty useful. At least I found it pretty useful. It also changes you into a werewolf, so it's another way to get a transformation. And then there's also a legendary that makes it to where it increases your crit by 10% and your allies crit by 10% when you use it. So again, more group buffs. I don't think that's that bad. Bloodhowl also increases your attack speed by 15% for 4 seconds. So, or you can get some more damage, or you can get some spirit too from it. It's overall not that bad. Debilitating Roar. This ability is probably never going to be taken. I don't see a reason why you should take it, because it's just a huge survivability thing. It's like, so if you're doing hard content, I guess, or I don't know, like because like, I don't know what content's where you're gonna need this like reduced damage dealt. It fortifies you. There's other ways to get fortify in the tree that are fine, that don't require this, when you could just run, you know, one of these other things that are kind of just better. So this isn't really that great. It slows enemies, but it's like, you know, if you're running a bear build, like just run the thing that makes your pulverize and earth skill and stuff like that, and you know you'll be able to get slows real easily. There's better ways to get slows, I think, but yeah, that's okay. So after that, I mean, just get a little bit of more damage reduction stuff here, so nothing crazy. So now you get to the companions: wolves, vine creeper, and ravens. Now, there was a lot of people that were saying wolves, you know, saying wolves don't do shit, right? Well, wolves are actually really good. So they don't really do a whole lot of damage base. So it says, you look at like their passives. Wolves deal 20% increased damage to immobilized, stunned, or slowed or poisoned enemies. Okay, that's cool. When you critically strike, your wolves get more attack speed, or your wolves can fortify you. Okay. That's cool, right? So, on its own, right, without any augments, this ability is pretty low on damage. But, if you get these, gain 1 additional companion. In addition, your companion skills deal 250% bonus damage. Okay, so that's pretty good. And then, if you get this ring here, your wolf companions are now werewolf companions. Werewolf companions deal 75% additional damage and can spread rabies. So now all of a sudden you put these two things on, and like these two items in themselves are like just absolutely bonkers. Like I don't even know like how to say it. It's like you sick this on. Oh, what the heck? Ooh, game's getting weird. Yeah, it's like it's just absolutely bonkers what these things do in terms of damage once you actually have your full build set up. They'll pretty much just kill everything for you. Oh yeah, that's why. Did I not put this on? No, I did not. Let's get through. You know what? I think 3 werewolves is better than that. So you get 250% here, and then you get 75 to 100% here. So just absolutely massive damage increases. You can just walk around and just press this button, and it's like, and these things will just kind of kill everything for you. If you have an even more set up and optimized build, these things will literally just one-shot elites. I have a video of that as well on my channel of this build, because I think personally it's actually the best druid build that you could play, between that or that Storm Strike one. But yeah, so that being said, that's kind of my thoughts on wolves. You really just need to get the legendaries that make it better, and then it becomes an amazing ability. Because since they can spread rabies, it makes it to where everything's poisoned all the time that they're attacking, because you don't have to have rabies on your bar, so that obviously increases their damage, right, by the 20%. So they proc that on their own, and then you can give them attack speed, so that's cool. Vine Creeper's pretty cool. It's a mass immobilization effect that works really well in multiple different builds. So like this, I think this ability, you're gonna see it a lot across all builds because it grants immobilization. So if you ever need that immobilization effect, this is just gonna instantly give them to you. It's also really good in poison builds as well, because it does quite a lot of damage, I think. So overall, pretty good. I like it. It does a decent amount of damage. Then you have ravens. So the thing about ravens and why they're actually cool is not because they themselves are like an amazing ability. Okay, it's that you get 4 of them, and there is a legendary that says increase your core skill damage by, it's like 7% if you have it on a ring. It's like 15% if you have it on a two-hander. For each companion out. So if you have 4 of these, and then you have 3 of these, you have 7 companions out. Okay, 7 times 7% or 7 times 15%, depending on what you have it on. It gives you a massive damage boost to your core skills, right? So it kind of makes it to where now, once you find that legendary, all of a sudden your wolves start buffing your damage instead of just their damage being buffed, and it makes, like I said, it makes that the build I was talking about here even better, because then you start running things like shred or really whatever you want, and you'll just start doing tons of damage with your core skills. And then you look at things like this. Oh wait, actually no, that's not relevant. What the heck am I talking about? But yeah. Oh, and then you also have legendaries like this when it comes to the fortify mechanic. Your core skills deal up to 20% increased damage. This is mineraled. It goes up to 40%. But whenever you're fortified, so there's a lot of cool fortify stuff in the druid, a lot of synergy with fortify, a lot of good legendaries with fortify as well. But ravens, they just do this. It does an okay amount of damage, especially if you have the, this legendary that increases its damage by 250%, because that does affect everything. So it's really not bad. It does a decent amount of AoE damage. You get 5% increased crit against enemies it hits, and then this is just for the 2 additional ravens, so you can get more of a damage boost. Or, I mean, you could use this, but I think there's, I don't know, this could be an okay way to get vulnerability if you needed it, but I think there's probably better ways. Okay, so now we go to the wrath skills. So, the heck, come on. Okay, go to the wrath skills. So you got trample. Not bad. I mean, it's an okay ability. It's not amazing by any means. It gives you knockback. If you knock them back into range, then they're stunned, so it could be potentially good in a bear build. Deals 30% bonus damage, reduced by 15% for each enemy hit, and that kind of makes that kind of bad. Casting trample grants what? More fortify. Woo! Casting trample grants 20 spirit. That could also be pretty good as a spirit generator. So, I mean, not bad, not a bad ability. It's not the best ability, but it's not that bad, right? Like I'm trying to think of things that I'm really thinking are bad. Like so far, like nothing really has striked me as bad as lightning storm in these 2 abilities. So, That's pretty good. Okay, we go to rabies. Rabies is really good. It spreads poison to everything, and if you enhance the rabies and you have this build going, it increases the rabies damage. So, you know, rabies spreads faster. Things are gonna be poisoned faster. The poisoning damage increases over the lifetime of the disease, dealing 30% bonus damage at the max duration. So, I mean, really not bad. This is a pretty solid ability. I really like it. It does a ton of damage. It spreads a lot of poison. Then we go up here to Boulder. Boulder kind of sucks. I guess Boulder is probably the worst ability out of all of these. And the reason is like I'm trying to make it good, right? Because you have like a legendary like this. Boulder's now core skill, so now it benefits from all these core skill damage increases. But the thing is they make it to where it costs 60 spirit, or, you know, and they also attach to 200%, you know, damage boost to it. So it's like you like you have to, or I guess that might be 100% depending on how that works out or how that's worded. But like, so you pretty much have to take that if you want to run the Boulder build. That's just a massive damage increase, and it's like, but it's either that or a 10-second cooldown. So it's like, why would you want to use your main ability every 10 seconds, right? And then whenever you make it into a spirit ability, well, it costs 60 spirit. That's like, you have 100 spirit. Like, how in the heck are you're not going to be using this consistently at all compared to the other things. You'll get the other core skills. The other core skills, 15 per strike. Okay, 40, 35, like 35. 30. Like, what? It's double all of the rest of these. This is just, they need to buff this. They need to make it to where it only costs like 30 spirit. If they did that, then this would be way better. If they made this only do 30 spirit, and then they made this other ring right here make your earth spike have a cooldown, Boulder would be a legitimate build. But until they do something like that, it's going to be really, really rough for this build to function, because it needs a ton of spirit generation, but yet the things that synergize with it have increased cooldown, which slows down the spirit generation. So it's like, what? This doesn't make sense. Like, Boulder is just not good. It has good passives, though, like, because it has synergizing passives, like 15% increased damage to slow. You run this helmet, your earth skill's slow. Like, it has all of the things that could potentially make it good, but it's just bad. Like, it's just not good. Okay. That being said, then you also have, when you fortify, give it 20% increased crit chance, and you know you can have fortify pretty easy as a druid, so it's like, there's a lot of things. It could be good, it just needs its core legendaries to be buffed a little bit. Okay, now, Hurricane. Form a hurricane around you that deals 380 to 460 damage to surrounding enemies over 8 seconds. Enemies who are damaged by Hurricane are slowed by 25%. Enemies affected by Hurricane deal 20% less damage. And chance to make them vulnerable. I mean, if you're running Storm, and not only that, if you look at this ability, you have to be pretty close, which means you're going to be in a melee build. If you're going to be in a melee build, you're going to be running Storm Strike. You don't need this to make them vulnerable. So this is just kind of a useless passive when you think about what they're going to be running with that. Like, why would you run Hurricane in any other build other than a lightning build? Because if you're on Hurricane, then you can proc, you know, all of this stuff, right? You're on Storm Strike, you're on Hurricane, you can proc, it'll help you proc all of this. You're going to have to play a lightning build, because you're not going to, because these legendaries right here, because there's like 2 or 3 legendaries that pretty much all do this effect, but they're slightly different. You know, you're going to be taking up all your legendary slots in order to make solid synergy with Hurricane anyway, so it's like, wow, like, this is just not that great. You don't really need to take this either. So like, if you ever run Hurricane, I guess that could be a plus. You don't really need any of these, so you could just put all, because this itself is good. It does a lot of damage, and it's a good way to help proc all of your passives pretty consistently. So, you know, just put points into this instead of this. Take the 3 points, put it somewhere in here. Is just always going to be better. Even I think at the end game, I don't see it when any of these passives are useful, which I guess is kind of a pretty common theme it seems for the Druid. I think a lot of the abilities are good, but maybe the passives need some adjustments, you know. I just need to do something else, like literally anything else. Because these just don't synergize. When you think about like what the build would look like, you know, what builds would look like using these, it's like, it's just redundant, because, I don't know, it's just kind of redundant. You're getting things from other places that are just better. Okay, then, so, that brings us to the ultimates. Oh, well, actually, hold on. Just to go over this, another way to make things vulnerable. Random lightning strike, random lightning strike chance, increased duration of hurricane and cataclysm, and then again another just bonus lightning damage if things are immobilized. So pretty cool. And guess what? You can immobilize things with what? Storm Strike. Woo! So like Storm Strike literally procs all of this. It's just so good. Anyway. Okay, then you have poisoned enemies are slowed. Critical strikes with werewolf skills deal 8%. This is pretty good actually, because that's going to go up to like, if you had 3 points into that, it would be like 25%, so that's really solid for werewolf stuff. Poisoned enemies take 10% additional critical strike damage. Again, pretty good as well. Just more damage for poisoning. Receive 5% increased healing. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, and then you get overpower. So like just more bear stuff. Yeah, it's just more of the same. Anyway, so you go to these. So Petrify is pretty sweet. It's a big AoE stun. I do think that, I don't know, I think they could have done better for, like, it is cool, but like I think they could have done better for an Earth Ultimate. Like, I don't know, make like some type of earthquake or some crap or something crazy. You know, just something cooler that's more in tune with that, because this could be a basic ability. Like, they could just nerf the second half of this, and this could just be a basic ability where it's just a big AoE stun. And, you know, this isn't really ultimate worthy, but the ability is cool, but it's just not, I just don't think it's a good ultimate. So, Petrifies effect duration is increased by 1 second. Killing an enemy affected by Petrified grants 25 spirit. I mean, that could be okay, but I mean, you have 3 seconds to kill things. So, I mean, you could generate a bunch of spirit, but I don't really see how this would be useful, because you'd just be overcapping on spirit instantly, so all that spirit would just be wasted, because you're not going to be able to cast anything fast enough to then re-kill something again. I don't know, I just don't think this is really, I just don't think these are really all that great. But the ability looks cool, you know? So, yeah, there's that. Then you have Cataclysm, and I guess, so this is pretty cool actually. It just makes it to where a massive storm just follows you around. It's pretty sweet. It does quite a bit of damage. It has a very long cooldown though. I think they should nerf the cooldown on this. I think with Lacerate having a cooldown this low, you know, and Grizzly Rage having a cooldown of 60 seconds, and this having a cooldown of 60 seconds, I don't see why this needs a cooldown of 77 seconds. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Increase the duration, make things vulnerable. You really don't need this ever, so this isn't really that great of a second ability, because again, like, it's just other, like, this right here would make you get vulnerable a lot. So it's like, why do you need this? And oh man, you're gonna make things vulnerable on a 77-second cooldown. This is just not good at all compared to. So this is what it does. Pretty cool thematically. See, this is like, if they could do something like this but for Earth, amazing ult the Earth one would be instead of the Petrify. Okay. So then you have Lacerate. I mean, Lacerate, this ability is going to be good once you have Keystone passives, right? Like, you know, and that's the other thing too, is keep in mind this is all at level 25, so everything could change potentially, especially between now and when the game is released. So I'm just kind of releasing my thoughts on the beta stuff. But You shapeshift into a werewolf, you become immune, you dash 10 times. This is pretty cool because you can dodge mechanics with it. So if like a mob, an elite, or like a Sheva is about to hit you with something, you can cast this and pretty much dodge it. So that's cool. If you do it in an area that has more than like a couple enemies, this ability does like 0 damage though. Like the more enemies you have around you, the less damage it does, which doesn't make sense to me. I think I don't know. Like this, in my mind, if a werewolf is jumping around, they should be killing things, not tickling them. So, but that could change with this. Every 6 werewolf skill hit critically strikes and deals 60% increased damage. So if you have 3 werewolves out proccing this and this, it could potentially make this way better. But I'm not really a huge fan of this ability just because of the fact that it doesn't work in AoE situations. So it's like meh. But yeah, so you just dash. It looks cool though. Okay, Grizzly Rage. So I don't know about this one. This one just doesn't seem. This just does not seem that good to me. I'm sorry. Like this just. And the issue with it is not that like if they made it to where you didn't lose and shapeshift into a werebear, because it changes your skill bar. If it was just shapeshift into a dire werebear and gain 20% bonus damage and 20% damage reduction, damage bonus is increased by 3% each second while in this form, that would be good, like just as a buff. If I could just get that while using my normal abilities and not having to go into this, like, look at this. Like, what? Like, what? This is, I don't know. I am just not a fan. I'm really just not a fan of this ult. I think this ult needs to be completely reworked and changed. Kind of like Petrify, I guess. Like, but the thing is Petrify is cool. Like, if they left Petrify like this, it wouldn't be the biggest deal in the world, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't really care for this ult. I don't think this ult would be used an insane amount, but Grizzly Rage, this just needs a rework. Like, this is just, I don't know. This is just not. This ain't it. That's all I can say is that this is not it. If they made it to where, if they made it to where it didn't replace your skill bar, maybe it would be good then. Okay, because then it would just be like a really big like enrage buff, right? Where it's like, okay, the more things you kill, the more it keeps going, the more damage you do, and that's, I don't know, that could be pretty good. But when you changes your whole entire bar to where you can use 3 skills, it's like, okay, I guess. Like, But then again, I don't know, if they changed it like that, then this would probably be taken like quite a bit for builds that are not even bear themed. So I don't know. Maybe they should just go back to the drawing boards with this one. But this one's just bad. It's like, sorry Blizzard, it's not that. It's really just that ain't it. You're unstoppable while Grizzly Rage is active, and you gain more Fortify. My God, Fortify is everywhere. Which is fine, I guess, because there's a lot of Fortify legendaries and stuff. But there is actually a legendary that changes this to where you turn into a dire werewolf instead of a dire werebear. So I mean, that's cool. I haven't tested that out, so I mean, I don't know. Like, the werewolf abilities would probably make more sense for something like this. So that might make this. So if you have that legendary specifically, it could potentially save this ult. But the base ult here, I'm just not really not a fan. You do have some cool passives here. Nature skills deal more damage, and then you have Earth skills deal 4% more damage to vulnerable enemies. Storm skills deal 4% more damage to enemies that are stunned, immobilized, or knocked back. Nature magic skills deal 2% increased damage. Triple this bonus if an Earth skill is the next skill cast after a Storm skill, or vice versa. So this is cool because it creates like Storm/Earth builds. So maybe something cool could come out of that, but there's nothing you could really do to play with this on the beta, I don't think. Not a whole lot, because you need so much investment from like passives and stuff in order to get everything you would need for a functioning build like that. Nature skills that consume spirit heal you for 1% of your maximum life. Okay. Cool. And then increase more fortify stuff whenever you're stunned down, fortify, and more fortify. Crowd control and parrying effects. Okay. 5% chance to instruct to fortify. So again, you know, more fortify. Fortify is everywhere. Maybe also change some of these fortify things to where they're a little bit more unique. I don't know. Maybe there's some cooler passives than everything is just fortify, but I don't know. But then again, maybe level 100, my opinion, would be different. So, if you're going over, and we also, and again, remember, we don't really have the keystone passives. Casting another skill has a 20% chance to trigger a free storm skill of the same category. In addition, casting a storm skill has a 20% chance to trigger a free earth skill. So, I mean, these key passives could potentially, like, change a lot of things. But this is just my opinion based on the legendaries I have found. And I found a lot, and just kind of comparing them and thinking about, like, okay, if I was going to make a build with this, right, like, how am I going to do X? And I don't see a lot of the issues that I'm seeing, like Petrified not being that great, Grizzly Rage. I don't think that changes at level 100. Maybe it could, but I don't think it will. I think those are just two abilities that need to go back to the drawing board. Boulder, I mean, I have the legendaries you would be using even at level 100, but it's like the spirit cost is 60, so it's just too high to be good with the legendaries that they made. They also made Earth Spike is just too bad of a generator. Like, you know, a lot of the issues I have, I don't think change at higher levels. I think they're still there. So, but other than that, you know, overall I like the Druid. I played a ton of it. It's pretty fun. So, yeah, but that's been kind of a overview of, you know, the Druid, all the skills, you know, what I liked, what I didn't like. And that's kind of, yeah, that's kind of it. I do have other build videos on the channel if you want to see a couple of the builds that I was playing over the PTR. But yeah, go ahead, leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. I am interested to see what other people think about, you know, all these passives and stuff like that. So, all right, see you later.